Hi and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're talking about the wild life of Baela Targaryen, a video that's been many months in the making, and there's also going to be an author's note type thing in the end here, so feel free to stay tuned for that. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more content like this. And without further ado, let's begin. Princess Baela, the first of her name, was born in 116 AC in the free city of Pentos. She was the daughter of Prince Daemon Targaryen and his wife, Lena Velaryon, of Driftmark, and she was also Daemon's cousin, I think, but pretty much everyone was cousins at this point. Shout out to Jaehaerys and Alysanne. Well, Baela had a twin sister named Rhaena, and both of them actually got their names from their maternal and paternal grandparents. So Baela was named for Daemon's father, Baelon the Spring Prince. And Rhaena was named for Lena's mother, the Princess Rhaenys, and you may also know her as the Queen Who Never Was. Though both her parents have been described as being tall of stature, Baela was said to be short, but lean and quick, and here we also get into the point of names having meaning, because Prince Baelon was also described as being lean and quick, so I find it intriguing when George writes like that. And she had the famed purple eyes and silver hair of the Targaryens, but she wore it cropped and short, and this was simply because she didn't want it to whip about her face when she was riding. Baela was said to be more boyish than ladylike, and she loved to hawk and ride. She would often be found in the yards, wrestling the squires, but as she grew older, the wrestling turned to kissing games. And she was an avid fan of flying, would be deliberately provocative on the occasion, and like her father Daemon, Baela was quick to anger. When Baela and her sister turned half a year old, they sailed from Pentos with their mother to Driftmark, and the reason why they waited until they were half a year old was because the twins were born pretty sickly and thrived later on, but they wanted to make sure that the kids were healthy before they took on such an arduous journey. And at the age of 1, her father, Prince Daemon, presented her and her sister to court for the first time in front of his brother, the King Viserys. A year later, with the blessing of his brother, Prince Daemon betrothed Baela Targaryen to her cousin, Jaehaerys Velaryon, Princess Rhaenyra's son. She eventually acquired and bonded with a hatchling whom she named Moondancer. At the age of 4, Baela's mother, Lena Velaryon, died, giving birth to a malformed son that she wouldn't long outlive. Her father, Daemon Targaryen, remarried his niece, the Princess Rhaenyra, a few months later, I think it was 3 months, making Baela and her betrothed step-siblings, which is pretty tame considering they're Targaryens. And that marriage would produce 2 half-brothers to Baela, Aegon III and Viserys II. Later in 129 AC, her uncle, King Viserys, died, and at the age of 13, Baela found herself caught in the midst of the civil war between the Targaryens on the side of the Blacks. During the war, Baela remained on Dragonstone, but she was adamant on not leaving her betrothed. She even insisted on fighting alongside him, even though Moondancer was not anywhere near ready to be ridden yet. Baela wanted to wed Jaehaerys immediately, though the prince didn't share that sentiment. Prince Jaehaerys wished to wait until the war was done to wed. While Mushroom the court fool made claims that Jaehaerys had already wed Sarah Snow in Winterfell, a rumored bastard sister of the Lord of Winterfell. Well, she took her first flight upon Moondancer a year later in 130 AC. When Rhaenyra claimed King's Landing, Baela divided her time flying between Dragonstone and Driftmark. As she was an adventurous and spirited girl, Baela wished to seek out the truth of Grey Ghost's death, one of the dragons, and honestly, can I just add in here that I was so sad when I read about Grey Ghost's death because he seemed like the sweetest ass dragon and I just wanted to hug him because he was so shy. And just I'd be like, it's okay. But he died and I was pretty sad about that, I'm not gonna lie. Well, she was forbidden by Sir Robert Quince to go. Well, she tried to defy her orders, but she was discovered and confined to her chambers. When Dragonstone fell to Aegon II Targaryen, her cousin, during the second half of 130 AC, Baela was still confined to her chambers. Baela escaped the soldiers by slipping out of her window and reached the yards using paths that were unknown to King Aegon's men. There, she loosed Moondancer before they could catch her, as King Aegon was to land on Sunfire. Baela rose in the sky atop her dragon to meet him. And so, the dragons danced. King Aegon eventually jumped off his dragon, falling 20 feet, but Baela stayed upon Moondancer until the bitter end. Burned and bruised, she still had the strength to undo the harness from her saddle, to crawl away from a dying Moondancer. And here we go again with the dying dragons. I swear, honestly, the dragons dying hurt me more than the people dying. While Sir Alfred Broom was awaiting her and rose his sword to slay her, but he was stopped at last minute by Sir Marston Waters, who wrenched the sword from his grasp. Tom Tangletongue then carried the wounded princess to the maester. She was then placed in the dungeons belonging to Dragonstone. When Sunfire perished on the 9th day of the 12th moon of 130 AC, well, that was a mouthful, King Aegon decided to have Baela beheaded. He changed his mind as her head was on the chopping block, after the maester informed him that she was the granddaughter of Lord Corlys Velaryon the Sea Snake. And I'm just here like, how did he not know that they're cousins? Daemon was his uncle. Didn't he know who his uncle was married to? Literally, they were at court. It's not like they were unseen or anything, and I just don't know how he didn't know that she was the granddaughter of Lord Corlys Velaryon. Like, please just pay attention. It's common knowledge. And I know, guys, I know that he was like messed up because he was like attacked, but seriously, like, I feel like you should remember who your cousin's mom is, and who your cousin's mom's dad is, perhaps. Well, maybe that's just not how things were done. I don't know. The king dispatched a raven to Driftmark, beckoning the bastard grandson, of Lord Corlys, Alyn Velaryon, to travel to Dragonstone and swear fealty to him within the fortnight, otherwise Baela's head would roll. When King's Landing was retaken by Aegon's loyalists, Lord Corlys was freed and offered a place with the king's men. The Sea Snake accepted, but only if his list of demands were granted. One of them were Baela's immediate release. And they were, and so the Sea Snake swore fealty in front of the Dowager Queen Alysanne. Oh my god, don't even get me started on that bitch. The ravens notifying the king of this arrived at Driftmark and Dragonstone just as preparations for the princess to be executed again were being made. Gosh, I feel so bad for her, like everyone's just putting her on the executioner's block. I'd have severe PTSD from that. In the end of 130 AC, however, Baela traveled alongside her cousin and his court from Dragonstone to King's Landing. She was kept in chains because others deemed her a danger toward the king and feared that she might attack him were she to be free, which honestly is a given thing. I would attack him as well. In the end of her cousin's reign, Aegon threatened Baela's grandfather, Lord Corlys Velaryon, that if his grandson, quotation marks, because we all know Corlys kind of cheated on Rhaenys and put his bastards out as the bastard sons of his gay son, but you know, everyone knew Baelor was kind of not into women, so, you know, yeah, grandson, son, what's the difference? Well, that if Alyn would fail him, or if any ships from Braavos were to pass the gullet, then Baela would lose choice parts. And that same day, the princess was taken away by Lord Larys Strong's men as Aegon II was murdered. So it was that the crown fell atop the head of her half-brother, Aegon III Targaryen, who was wed to Jaehaerys Targaryen. Their marriage was actually done at the behest of Lord Corlys Velaryon, because he was like, we need to unite the two branches of the Targaryens once again. The dance had done much to deplete the supply of Targaryens. In fact, Baela, Rhaena, Aegon, and Jaehaerys were thought to be the only living Targaryens left in the world, if you don't count Viserys, but no one knew he was alive at this point. While the twins took to their duties earnestly and soon became the darlings of the realm, often being seen traveling around the city. King Aegon and Queen Jaehaerys were seldom seen and would often remain in the castle. Jaehaerys didn't even leave her apartments, I think. Cregan Stark, the Hand of the King, had ordered the men who freed Baela from her confinements to be killed, but the act didn't please the princess. Baela pleaded for the lives of the men who'd saved her to be spared. She even brandished a sword and stated that she would cut the hand of any man who dared harm the person or the man who'd saved her. Amused by her actions, Lord Cregan allowed Baela to keep her dogs, if it pleased her so. Baela and her sister then pleaded for their grandfather, Lord Corlys Velaryon, to be spared and pardoned. They went as far as to take their plea directly to their half-brother, the king, and Aegon III went against his hand's wishes and pardoned Lord Corlys. When Lord Corlys died in 132 AC, everything turned to shit again, and matters of successions were once again raised. Baela and Rhaena were considered as the only heirs that the realm would accept, as their half-brother had not yet produced any children, both him and his wife being too young to do so. The small council were more inclined towards Rhaena, the younger and more docile of the two. She could be tamed, where Baela would thrash and fight. Maester Monken brought up what the war had previously been fought about, and that the rights of the firstborn needed to be valued and upheld. Yet Baela had grown into a wild and willful woman, so like her father. She would often sneak out of the castle into the streets of the city to seek adventure. Her companions were also not to the small council's tastes, and they considered them to be unsuitable. No one, be it her Septa Amaris or Septon Eustace, could quench her wild ways. Septon Eustace informed the current hand, Lord Tywin Lannister, that if Baela was not wed soon, then she would bring dishonor upon House Targaryen and her brother, the king. So, plans for her wedding began being made, and the council chose Lord Thaddeus Rowan for the young Baela. They had considered many other men, such as Lord Kermit Tully, Benjamin Blackwood, Lord Lionel Hightower, Lord Qualton Greyjoy, and Prince Kyle Martell. I don't think Baela would marry a Hightower, though, considering Queen Alysanne and all that mess. Baela, however, disagreed strongly with the match, as any young woman probably would. Lord Thaddeus was 40 years her senior, already had 7 sons, and was said to be quite large. She told Sir Tywin that she'd bedded 2 of Rowan's sons, and the hand did not take that lightly, thusly confining Baela to her rooms until the next meeting of the regents. But instead, Baela fled to Driftmark to seek refuge at her cousin's, or her uncle's, depending on which tale you believe. So, she wed Lord Alyn Velaryon a fortnight later in the Sept of Dragonstone. Some outraged regents pleaded with the hand to ask the High Septon for an annulment, but he denied, instead putting it about that the marriage had been organized by the royal court, which it hadn't, obviously. And Sir Tywin, he didn't think that her choice of a husband was disgraceful, but her utter disregard and defiance to what the regents wanted was the true scandal. In the eyes of the regents, Baela's choice to run away and wed all but confirmed their opinions that she should not be considered as the heir. Well, the winter fever killed Lord Tywin and most of the small council, making Lord Unwin Peake rise to the handship. The king wished for his sister back at court and wanted his good brother Alyn to be named as Master of Ships. However, Lord Peake reversed the decision as Aegon had not consulted his regents, and I honestly think this was a douchey thing to do because Aegon was lonely and he missed his sister. Like, what are you gonna do? He was a young boy. Like, seriously, allow him his comforts. When Lord Alyn left for one of his 6 voyages, Baela informed him that she was with their first child. Baela was 16 when they married and Alyn was 17. He told his wife to name their son after his father, or grandfather, well, Lord Corlys. Baela declared that it would be named after her mother, Laena. Their daughter, Laena Velaryon, was born the next year, before Alyn returned from his voyage. During his voyage, Alyn sent his wife a letter from Old Town where he heard of the Queen Jaehaerys' death. The contents of the letter remain unknown, but what we do know is that, thusly, Rhaena and Baela Targaryen arrived in King's Landing with Baela's young ward, the beautiful Daenerys Velaryon. This was during the ball known as the Maiden Days Cattle Show. And during the end of the ball, the young king announced that he would wed Lady Daenerys Velaryon. The king's decision only proved to flame his hand's dislike toward Baela even more, as he had intended for his own daughter, Muriel Peake, to be the chosen one to wed the king. Alas, it turned out to be Daenerys. Baela was present for her brother's wedding during the last day of 133 AC. And the princess accompanied the royal court alongside her newborn daughter, Laena Velaryon, to the harbor of King's Landing to welcome home her husband, Aelin Velaryon, from his journey. However, with joy came tragedy. When Sir Corbin Corbray was killed in the Vale, Baela traveled to Dragonstone where her sister resided to be of a comfort as Rhaena was grieving. Yet also to make sure that Rhaena did not take her dragon mourning to avenge her fallen husband, even though I don't think that would be Rhaena's way. Though her sister lost her husband, Baela's was still very much alive, and theirs was a stormy union to say the least. When Aelin prepared to set out for his second voyage in 136 AC, he and his wife quarreled, and in 20th century words, I will kind of recite this quarrel for you even though we don't know the contents of it. Kind of this is how I assumed it went. Baela was pissed. She was pissed because she heard all the rumors of how Aelin was like consorting with the Princess of Dorne and how she was a wanton woman and all that stuff. And so Baela confronted him and she was like, "Are you fucking her?" And he was like, "No, I'm not." And she was like, "Are you though? Because I'm hearing all of this shit." And he's like, "No, I'm not." And, you know, that's kind of probably how it went. But they reconciled, so, you know, good for them. And as I said, Baela heard the rumors of her husband and his affiliations with Princess Alliandra, Martell of Dorne. And though they reconciled shortly before he left in the middle of 136 AC, so, you know, he must have calmed her worries in some way. And he left her pregnant with their second child. And I'm quite curious as to what became of this child because there's not anything known about it. We don't even know the name. So, George, please. And meanwhile in King's Landing, plans for King Aegon III's royal progress was being made after he turned 6 and 10. And I don't know why I wrote it 6 and 10, but you know, it sounds fancier so. Well, the fiery Targaryen princess declared that she would be present for it whether she was wanted or not. And after that, we don't really know what became of Baela, or her death, or her life after that, so Fire and Blood Volume 2 will surely make us aware of the ending to her story. Alas, we must leave it here for now and just hope that we're not 45 years old by the time we find out. And here are some quotes about Baela Targaryen for your viewing pleasure. As a younger girl, she'd oft been chastised for wrestling with the squires in the yard, but of late she'd taken to playing kissing games with them instead. Not long after the Queen's Court removed to King's Landing, whilst leaving Lady Baela on Dragonstone, Baela had been caught allowing a kitchen scullion to slip his hand inside her jerkin. Sir Robert, outraged, had sent the boy to the block to have the offending hand removed. Only the girl's tearful intercession had saved him. "She is overly fond of boys," the castellan wrote Baela's father, Prince Daemon, after that incident, "and should be married soon, lest she surrender her virtue to someone unworthy of her." So it came to pass that when King Aegon II flew Sunfire over Dragonmont's smoking peak and made his descent, expecting to make a triumphant entrance into a castle safely in the hands of his own men, with the queen's loyalists slain or captured, up to meet him rose Baela Targaryen, Prince Daemon's daughter by the Lady Laena, as fearless as her father. As the knight took his leave, the king turned to Corlys Velaryon. "Tell your bastard to fight bravely, my lord. If he fails me, if any of these bravos see past the gullet, your precious Lady Baela shall lose some parts as well." The sea snake did not plead, or curse, or threaten. He nodded stiffly, rose, and took his leave. And here we have another part. Not even the tears of a dragon could melt the frozen heart of Cregan Stark, men said rightly, Mushroom tells us. But when Lady Baela brandished a sword and declared that she would cut off the hand of any man who sought to harm the men who had saved her, the Wolf of Winterfell smiled, for all to see, and allowed that if her ladyship was so fond of these dogs, he would permit her to keep them. Where Rhaena delighted in being the center of court life, Baela bristled at praise and seemed to take pleasure in mocking and tormenting the suitors who fluttered around her like moths. Baela Targaryen, when informed of the match, did not share their pleasure. "Lord Rowan is 40 years my senior, bald as a stone with a belly that weighs more than I do," she purportedly told the king's hand. Then she added, "I've bedded 2 of his sons, the eldest and the third-born, I think it was. Not both at once. That would have been improper." He said his farewells to his wife, the Lady Baela, who sent him on his way with a kiss and the news that she was with child. "Name him Corlys, after my grandsire," Lord Alyn told her. "One day he may sit the Iron Throne." Baela laughed at that. "I will name her Laena, after my mother. One day she may ride a dragon." And that's it for today, guys. I just realized that I forgot to mention my own personal thoughts on Baela, but I think that can be summarized pretty quickly by she's a bad bitch and we all need a Baela Targaryen in our lives, and just she's all around fucking fabulous and, you know, major OG Rhaena Targaryen energy. And yeah, I stan. We stan. I stan. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and put on post notifications to keep updated on your favorite Targs. Also, don't forget to leave a comment down below about what you thought and what Targaryens and stuff you want me to do next. Now for the note, I'm sorry this video is so very late and that it's not the part 3 of the Targaryen madness, but I've been so busy and very stressed lately, so I haven't found the time to do part 3 yet because there's a lot of things that goes into making that. I have to search up the facts, I have to record the audio, I have to find all of the pictures so that you guys don't get bored just listening to my... Some people say my voice is very monotone, and honestly guys, I'm so sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. I don't really intend for it to, but maybe that's why no one really likes my videos, because I'm so fucking boring when I talk. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of why, and it will have to be put on hold because school is honestly just rough at this point, and I don't want to half-ass it for you guys, so I will try to keep to the 1 video a week schedule thing, but you know, like I said, school's kicked off, it's super busy, but do count on 1 video every month to say the least. And the easiest way for you to be notified when I post is to put on post notifications, so do that if you haven't already, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Feel free to, you know, comment down your suggestions and things you'd like to have more videos of, and have a nice day. Bye.